Shalom, shalom, Israel, shalom. As Brother Raya want to give all honor and glory to the Most High God, Yahweh, by Hashem Mashiach, wa Malak Yahushua. Another strong shalom to all of the mighty brothers that go out there and labor on the highways and byways, making their body living sacrifice. In the rain, the tumults, the demons, the uprisers, the uproars, they're out there standing 10 toes down for the name of the Lord. Another strong shalom to all of the mighty brothers that are not out there as of yet, but building themselves up, reading, praying, fasting, by being diligent, taking notes, doing everything they could do to put themselves in a position to shake the hand and wake up the hopeful elect. Another strong shalom to all that are mighty akwaf in this thing, that actually sincerely reverence their husbands, being teachers of good things to the children at home, being quiet, shamefaced, submissive, loving, steadfast, cooking, sewing, cleaning, doing all of the righteous acts of our foremothers on fire for the Lord. Another strong shalom to all that are mighty akwaf that are not married as of yet, but they're building themselves up. Reading, praying, fasting, being diligent, shamefaced, and submissive, right? Doing everything they could do to magnify the Lord in the ministry. Another strong shalom to all of the children in this thing, right? Abstaining from all concupiscence, lust, and peer pressure, standing 10 toes down for the name of the Lord. And last but not least, another strong shalom to the 12 tribes scattered abroad, reading, praying, fasting, making their body living sacrifice in the last days. Right? This is going to be an in-depth breakdown, right, on the valley of Jehoshaphat, also known as Yahweh's decision, right? Jehoshaphat in the ancient Hebrew. So we're going to dive in it through the spirit and power of Yahweh B'Shem Yahushua. And most high willing is edifying, right? Give me a strong con if you can see the screen, right? I'm going to share the screen. Right, give me a strong con if you can see the screen. All right, let me get a strong con. Let's go to the mighty book of Joel, the prophet Joel, the 3rd chapter. Right? Before we get that, we got to get the classic. Let's get the book of Sirach, chapter 39, and verse number 1. It's the book of Sirach, chapter 39, and verse number 1. And it reads, "But he that giveth his mind to the law of the Most High, and is occupied in the meditation thereof, will seek out the wisdom of all the ancient and be occupied in prophecy." Right? This is not a time to be falling asleep. This is a time to be awake, vigilant, sober, steadfast, on fire, diligent, enduring unto the end and watching into our Lord Yahweh Shah. It's not time to be wallowing away in your sins, falling back in the world, giving heed to seducing, wicked, crafty spirits sent by the spiritual demon Satan to sift your mind out, as well as your whole family in this thing, man. Now it's time to be on fire. It says he will keep the sayings of the renowned men, and where subtle parables are, he will be there also. He will seek out the secrets of graven sentences and be conversant in dark parables. So these are the type of men that the Lord has delight in. The Lord has delight in a man that searches out matters, that's always conversing in prophecy, that's always seeking out the end of the world, right? And the dark parables thereof, man, right? And we're going to dive into it through the spirit, right? This is the book of Joel, chapter 3, and verse number 1. And it reads, "For behold, in those days and in that time, when I shall bring again the captivity of Judah and Jerusalem." So when the Lord says bring again the captivity, meaning redeem us, right, from slavery and bondage, right, in those days. Let me get a quick precept. Let's go into it. Let's get the book of Ezekiel, chapter 36. It's the book of Ezekiel, chapter 36, and I'm going to start at verse number 23. And it reads, it says, "And I will sanctify my great name, which was profane among the heathen." How was the Lord's name profaned among the heathen? Huh? All of idolatry, witchcraft, seizure bourgeois, white angels, philosophies, doctrines, Christianity. The Lord's name, which is supposed to be holy, true, on fire, right, and fearful, became profane among the heathen. And most definitely by our actions, our works, and all of our coonery, our folly, right, and all vanity, where we were spread abroad learning the customs of these heathens, which ye have profaned in the midst of them, and the heathen shall know that I am the Lord. Because the Lord has to magnify his name all over again. He did it in the days of old in ancient Egypt. He's going to do it all over again in this Egypt, saith the Lord God, when I shall be sanctified in you before their eyes. For I will take you from among the heathen and gather you out of all countries. Take us from among the heathen, meaning beam us up, right? And what the world would classify as UFOs, right? Unified flying objects is what they call them. But nevertheless, we know that those that are chariot to the Most High God, right? Navigated by the holy angels. It says, and will bring you into your own land. So the Lord's going to redeem us and bring us from the hand of the heathen all the way and redeem us and take us back to Jerusalem, our homeland, right? It says, and I will gather all nations and bring them down into the valley of Jehoshaphat. Before I get that, let me get one more now about the Lord redeeming us. Let's go to the mighty book of Psalms, chapter 126. It's the book of Psalms, chapter 126, and verse number 1. It says, and when the Lord turned again the captivity of Zion, we were like them that dreamed. So the Lord said when he actually turned again the captivity, it's going to be like we're in a dream. And when you're in a dream, you don't know what's real and what's fake. And when the angel broke Peter out of jail, Peter thought it was a vision when you read Acts the 12th chapter, man. He wist not if this was even real. We're going to wish not if this is even real, man. To see all hell breaking loose, bombs, fire, destruction, yells, screams, and all type of sirens. And in the midst of it, the sky cracked and a band of hundreds of millions of angels, right? Led by Hamashiach wa Malak Yahushua, coming down to beam us up, and we get translated, and it's all before your eyes. And the elect is going to see this, man. Those ones that have never tasted death since the time that they've been born spiritually, those are one of the ones that see it, right? And it's going to be a first resurrection. And the elect is going to see the dead, get beamed up first in the Lord, right? And when the dead get beamed up first in the Lord, the elect is going to behold those things, man. Right? Read it on. Then was our mouth filled with laughter, right? That's the book of Revelations, this 15th chapter. And our tongue with singing, right? And we're going to be singing, right? The song of Moses and daughter rejoicing of our salvation, just like we did in ancient Egypt, right? By the hand of our forefathers in Exodus, the 15th chapter. It says, then said they among the heathen, the Lord have done great things for them. That's Wisdom of Solomon, the 5th chapter. When we went up and their enemies, right, beheld us, right, while we look down, like we read about in Isaiah 51, as we look down, we're going to translate, right, and get beamed up, and our enemies are going to behold us. Right, let me go back to that. This is the book of Joel, chapter 3 and verse 1. Let me get one more on that through the Spirit, man. Right, we can't talk about it and not be about it. Right, this is the book of Isaiah, chapter 51. Let me get this quick precept. It's the book of Isaiah, chapter 51. And I'm going to start at verse 6. Lift up your eyes to the heavens and look upon the earth beneath, for the heavens shall vanish away like smoke, and the earth shall wax old like a garment, and they that dwell therein shall die in like manner. So as you're looking up, meaning you're going to be beamed up, and as you're looking down, all the inhabitants are going to die in like manner. It says, but my salvation shall be forever, and my righteousness shall not be abolished. Hearken unto me, ye that know righteousness, the people in whose heart is my law. Fear ye not the reproach of men, neither be ye afraid of their reverence. Man. Right, it's the book of Joel, chapter 1 and verse number 2. So like 3 and verse 2. I will also gather all nations and bring them down into the valley of Jehoshaphat, also called Yahweh, right? The Lord's decision, the valley of decision. And I will plead with them there for my people and for my heritage Israel, whom they have scattered among the heathen and parted my land. Right? Let's dive into that. Right? It's the book of Joel, chapter 3. Let's pull that up in the Hebrew. Right? Jehoshaphat, which is also known as what? Yahweh has judged. This is the place where the Lord is going to judge the earth. Now the Lord judges the earth through the hand of the angels and through strange calamities, every day. Right? Every day somebody's dying, somebody's getting kidnapped, somebody's getting killed, or somebody's getting suffered to be in a tumor, doesn't wake up in the morning. And the Lord's judgments are real. Earthquakes, volcanoes, right? All type of windstorms. Destruction is at a high rate on the earth right now. During the fourth seal, entering into the fifth seal, where all of these angels have been loosed in the seals, right, to wreak vengeance and destruction upon the earth as it continues to spiral into the day of the Lord. But you're going to have the ultimate judgment, which is called Yahweh Shaphat. Yahweh has judged. It's going to be the ultimate place where the Lord grabs up all of the ones, right, in war and World War III, also known as Armageddon, right, and burns them all with nuclear fire. Right? It says, and I will plead with them there for my people. When it says plead with them, that's not talking about the Most High is going to come down, right, in the image of Yahweh Shai, and he's going to reason with the heathen. He's going to plead with them, meaning he's going to get on them. He's going to shake his hand against them. For my heritage, whom they have scattered among the nations. Meaning these are the charges that the Lord is charging against, right, these nations in the day of judgment. Right? Let me get this quick precept. Let's go to the book of Revelation, chapter 19. This is the book of Revelation, chapter 19, and I'm going to start at verse 17. It says, and I saw an angel standing in the sun, and he cried with a loud voice, saying to all the fowls that fly in the midst of heaven. So there's an angel that has charge over fire, and he's standing in the sun, cry with a loud voice, because angels cry aloud, right? That's all throughout the book of Revelation and Second Esdras. Saying to all the fowls that fly in the midst of heaven, meaning the firmament, come and gather yourselves together unto the supper of the great God. The supper of the great God is talking about what? When the Lord destroys this earth and all of the chief captains, nobles, officers, prime ministers, right, presidents, and all foreign country leaders are gathered together to Yahweh Shaphat and judged and destroyed with nuclear fire. That's how the Lord is going to get up with them. And he's going to plead with them. And it's going to be a big burning fire. Right, let me get this quick precept in the book of Psalms, chapter 37. Right, it's the book of Psalms, right, chapter 37, verse 20. But the wicked shall perish, and the enemies of the Lord shall be as the fat of lambs. What does it mean they should be as the fat of lambs? What happens to lambs? They get burned. It's a sacrifice. The Lord's going to sacrifice these nations, and he's going to burn them with fire, nuclear fire, ICBM missiles. They shall consume into smoke. So like into smoke shall they consume away. And whatever is parabolically left over, as the Lord is saying through the fowls, right? That's the great supper of the Lord, where the Lord is going to call all of the fowls together. That ye may eat of the flesh of kings, and the flesh of captains, and the flesh of mighty men, and the flesh of horses, and of them that sit on them, and the flesh of all men, both free and bond, both small and great. It's the book of Joel, chapter 3, and verse number 3. And they have cast lots for my people. So as you read Joel, just like when you read Revelation, you may read Psalms in part, right? You may read different prophetic books like Daniel. It goes in and out of time. Right, so when you read Joel, amongst many other books, right, you have a captivity and a context, but then you have a spirit and a prophecy where the Lord is changing the narrative. When you jump to verse 3, it says, and they have cast lots for my people. Casting a lot, right, may be like flipping a coin. They had the Urim and the Thummim, right? Like the Lord said, the lot causeth contention to cease, and parteth amongst the mighty, right, in the book of Proverbs. Right, it says, and having a boy, and giving a boy for an harlot, and sold a girl for wine that they may drink. Now, what is this talking about? Right, let's dive into the history of those things. Right, let me get this real fast. Right, so you had something, as brothers well know, and that's even going on to this very day. You have sex trafficking. Right, you even have the movie called Get Out, where they showed a prime example of sex trafficking. Now, a lot of people may look at that movie and ding, 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 and then he kind of fall back to sleep, and kind of wake back up, and then a man running out of nowhere, right? Then you see that Edomite lady doing her sorcery and her trickery. All of that may be true, But they were trying to capture this man that they may sell him as a sex organ, right? For these rich elites, that they may tap into him, right? And use him as they please. I mean, anybody could mow the lawn, man. Anybody could make the sheets. Anybody could Swiffer duster and vacuum. But these rich elites and these people in high places, they have a lot of sex trafficking and they deal with a lot of melanin stealing and organ trafficking, right? It says this: sexual slavery and sexual exploitation is attached of any ownership right over one or more people with the intent, right, of courting and otherwise forcing them to engage in sexual activities, right? You had a movie, I forgot the name of it, Taken. You had a movie called Taken where they were trying to take this man's daughter and ship her off for sex trafficking as she went to Europe. So this is a big business and things that actually go on. And that's actually found in the scriptures. And we could go through the accounts that those men in Tyre, Zidon, the Philistines, and all of those men during those hours of the sea, they wasn't just trading tin and brass, right? And different things that you may use, right, for your house or to build up things in your city. They were actually selling sex slaves, man. That's in the book of Ezekiel, the 27th chapter, right? So this includes forced labor that results in sexual activity. Forced marriages. Weren't we forced to marry, man? I mean, isn't that written in the book of Genesis? Didn't Pharaoh's wife try to force Joseph because she saw a strong, wise Hebrew man that looked nothing like those nasty Egyptians? And she knew the strength, power, understanding, zeal, and might that our forefathers possessed. And just like any of these other nations, they want to tap and they want to get a source and they want to feel, right, what it's like to be with a real man, a Hebrew man, an Israelite man. It says forced marriage is sex trafficking, such as the sexual trafficking of children, right? And we're not going to dive too deep into that, but nevertheless, right, this is the Phoenicians. Now the Phoenicians, name was changed, right? Nevertheless, Canaanites, when you go into it, it says this: according to the ancient classic authors of the Phoenicians, were a people whom occupied the coast of the Levant, right? Eastern Mediterranean. Their major cities were Tyre, Zidon. So Tyre and Zidon were also known as Phoenicians, which are Canaanites, right? It says rival cities, unlike the neighboring island states, the Phoenicians represented a confederation of Mediterranean traders, right? Check that out. So they were traders of the isles rather than a defined country. They were known for trading. What the Phoenicians actually called themselves is unknown, right? We know who they are. Though it may, and that's why when you read the book of Mark, the 7th chapter, and Matthew, the 15th chapter calls that woman, right, that begged for mercy, a Canaanite, while Mark, the 7th chapter, calls, right, a Syrophoenician, right, by nation, when you go into it, a Greek. But she wasn't a Greek, right? She was translated into that custom, being Hellenized, as Alexander the Great did, not only to the Israelites, but for all countries and isles which he conquered. He forced those people to speak Greek and did the same things that he did to us, right? So she was classified as a Phoenician when you go into it, which is nothing more than a Canaanite, a Greek-speaking Canaanite. It says used to describe these people in the first millennium BC is a Greek invention. From the word, right, so I'm going to dive down a little bit. It says, with the expectation of bulbs, which have been flourishing center of the at least third millennium, the Syrophoenicians cities first emerged as urban and titles around 1500 BC and Egyptian, right, near East documents recorded in the late Bronze Age. Right, let me dive down a little bit more. This is what I want right here. It says by the late 8th century BC, right, the Phoenicians along the Greeks had founded trading posts around the entire Mediterranean. So you can find this in the scriptures and you can find this where? Right, you can find this right in history, man. Right, let me get this quick precept. Right, let me dive into this. Let's go to the mighty book, right, of Isaiah, chapter 23. And Alexander the Great conquered Tyre and Zidon, right? Tyre and Zidon, and overthrew them when they go into the wars, right? It's the book of Isaiah. Let me get this quick precept. Chapter 23. And I'm going to start at 12. It says, and he said, thou shalt no more rejoice, O thou oppressed virgin, daughter of Zidon. Arise, pass over to Shittim. There thou shalt, Salakia also shall have no rest. Right. So when they pass over, right, the Lord is parabolically saying that the Babylonians are going to destroy them. Behold, the land of the Chaldees, right, the Chaldeans, this people was not to the Assyrian founded it, for them that dwell in the wilderness. They set up the towers thereof, they raised up the palaces thereof, and he brought it to ruin. So the Lord laid waste, right, the hand of Tyre and Zidon. Let me get another quick precept. Let's go to the book of Ezekiel. Right, it's the book of Ezekiel, right? Let me get 26 first. 26, and I'm gonna start at let's see what I want. Let's start at verse 2. Right? It says, Son of man, because that Tyrus have said against Jerusalem, aha, she have broken that which was the gates of the people, meaning her strength. She is turned unto me, I shall replenish now, she is laid waste. Meaning when you read Amos, the first chapter, right, verse 9 all the way down, right, Isaiah, right, the 23rd chapter, Ezekiel, the 26th chapter, the 22nd chapter, and even the 28th chapter, this is all judgment on Tyre. Now, this actually happened by the hand of Nebuchadnezzar, but nevertheless, it's going to happen all over again because Tyre got built back up and came back as a miracle. Therefore, thus saith the Lord God, behold, I am against thee, O Tyrus, and I will cause many nations to come up against thee as the sea causeth his waves, right, to come up. Let me jump down to 7. For thus saith the Lord God, behold, I will bring upon Tyrus Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, a king of kings, from the north, with horses and with chariots and with horsemen and with companies and with much people. And did what, man? And utterly destroyed them and took them down. Right, let me get one more on that. Right, let's get the book of Amos, chapter 1 and verse number 9. It's the book of Amos, chapter 1 and verse number 9. Thus saith the Lord, for 3 transgressions of Tyrus, and yet 4 I will not turn away the punishment thereof, because they delivered up the whole captivity to Edom. So they have many charges. They have sold our little children as sex traffickings, right? They have literally delivered up the captivity to Edom, right? They have many charges laid against them, right? They have sold off men through the Isles of the Sea. That was a big port and a big trading central, man, for all of these different nations in the Mediterranean and in Levant. And they used to all come there just like America, right, to do their trades. Right, let me get this quick precept. Let's go to the book of Ezekiel, chapter 27. But matter of fact, I'm going to hold that precept. Let's go back to Joel. It's the book of Joel, chapter 3 and verse 3. And they have cast lots for my people, and have given a boy for an harlot, and sold a girl for wine, that they may drink. So they was doing all of those different trades of the people. Right now was big business. And that's what you do when somebody's a captive. Right? Let me get that in the law. Let's go to Deuteronomy chapter 21. It's the book of Deuteronomy chapter 21 and verse 10. When thou goest forth to war against thy enemies, and the Lord thy God hath delivered them into thy hands, and thou hast taken them captive, and seest among the captives a beautiful woman. And a lot of people are sensitive when they don't know prophecy and they don't know the Bible. You know, a lot of women are sensitive about multiple wives. A lot of weak, watered down men in this truth. You know, they want to love everybody. They think the Lord is coming back to save everybody. This is in the law. The law is perfect. Why, when you read prophecy, like Zechariah, the 14th chapter, it's going into ravishing women and taking down cities? Why, when you read Joel, the 2nd chapter, the mighty men, the 144,000, are going to take the earth by storm? capturing people, putting them in slavery, man, and taking their women. Why, when you read these things in these accounts, that's how the Lord get down. When you read his Isaiah, the 33rd chapter, the Lord goes into that. All right, let me get this quick precept. Let's go to Isaiah. I'm going to come back to that one. Isaiah chapter 33, right? And I'm going to start at verse 1. Right, you got to have a thick stomach to be in this truth, man. This truth isn't for a westernized mindset. It says, woe to thee that spoilest, and thou was not spoiled. Meaning, and thou was not spoiled. Meaning you have to be spoiled if you spoil, man. Didn't the Lord say double unto her? It says, and dealest treacherously, and they dealt not treacherously with thee. Meaning, woe unto somebody that did something, didn't have it done back to them. Right? It says, when they shall cease to spoil. When do you want to cease to spoil and steal? Thou shalt be spoiled, and when thou shalt make an end to deal treacherously, they shall deal treacherously with thee. I mean, it's going to have to happen. All of these countries and nations that have raped us, stole everything from us, our heritage, our mindset, our women, our culture, our style, and any and everything that's ever been classified, right, as everyone knows to be Israelite, they have stolen it, man, and they have to pay for that, right? Let me go back to the book of Deuteronomy. It's the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 21 and 11, and see it's among them the captives a beautiful woman, and thou hast a desire unto her. Meaning you may wonder that thou wouldest have her to thy wife. Then thou shalt bring her home to thine house. What do you mean bring her home? You think she's going to want to come? She just seen her uncle, her grandfather, her father get killed, slaughtered, have his neck snapped, thrust through in the head, chopped off, his esophagus, them leaking everywhere, man. Right? She may have dirty clothes, blood all over. She just seen the spoils of war, yells and screams and armors. And the Lord said in the book of Isaiah, every battle is with confused noise, man. I mean, you hear screams, you hear yells, you hear whines. You hear these things in war. Let me get this quick precept. This is the book of Isaiah chapter 9 and verse 5. For every battle of the warrior is with confused noise. Then you hear chink, swords, bucklers, brass clanging, yells, women screams. It's nothing to where you can say, Shalom, everybody, we're going to move to the left. No, you're not going to hear anything. And garments rolled in blood. So in war, people are rolled in blood. So this woman have had to have seen the most treacherous of things. So when you bring her home, you're taking her home. And she shall shave her head and pare her nails. And she shall put the raiment of her captivity off her, meaning all of her past life and her customs and her captivity. She's going to take all of that. It says, and shall remain in thine house, and bewail her father and her mother a full month. I mean, you want to give her a full month to get all of those things out of her, right? And after that, thou shalt go in unto her and be her husband, and she shall be thy wife. So we have laws that are reasonable under the laws of the Most High, which are perfect. But these nations, they don't have that. They'll take a child, which is 11 years old, and sex traffic them off. They'll take an 11-year-old girl and sex trafficking off, man. You have belly warmers and all type of cooks and different things that they would use them for, man, unjustly. So, I mean, war gets serious. It's not a light matter, right? Let me go back to this. It's the book of Joel, right, chapter 3 and verse number 4, right? It says this, yeah, and what have I to do with me, O Tyre and Zidon, and all the coast of Palestine? Because that was all of that region around that Levant, that Mediterranean, that was dealing with all of that trade. Will ye render me a recompense? And you're going to pay me back for all the things that you have stolen? And if you recompense me, swiftly and speedily would I return your recompense upon your own head. That's like you killing somebody's son and you trying to offer them up a ransom. That would be so disrespectful, man. Let somebody kill your mother and then just try to bring 100,000 to you and smile in your face. That's why the Lord says, swiftly and speedily will I recompense, so I can return your recompense upon your own head. Meaning, stop playing with me, man. You can't return or get back. That's even in the book of, let me get this quick precept. In the book of Zephaniah, chapter 1 and verse 14. You can't buy your way out of this thing. The only way that you could purchase to get out of this is by blood. Right? This is the book of Zephaniah, chapter 1, and verse 14. It says that day is a day of wrath and a day of trouble, disease and a day of wasteness and desolation, a day of darkness and gloominess, a day of clouds and thick darkness. Jumping down to 18, that's the day of the Lord. Neither their silver nor their gold shall be able to deliver them in the day of the Lord's wrath. And that's manyfold, because that's going into underground bunkers, shelters, helicopters, military. Nothing that they have bought or that they have built is going to be able to deliver them. A gold, recompense, whatever the case may be. You may could buy your way out of certain situations. Hey, in the law, you could buy your way out, right? Of, well, I got to get this quick precept. In certain cases, not all cases, right? Death, right? By your animal born. Let me get that real fast in the law. So even in the law, you could buy your way out in some certain situations, death. But you're not going to be able to do that in the day of the Lord. Right? This is the book of Exodus, chapter 21, and verse number 30. And it reads, it says, and if, let me read up a little bit more. But if the ox were wont to push with his horns in time past, I mean, you have an evil beast. You're just always getting into it with people, man. Right? You go, you chop down your corn stalk, you turn around, your ox done got out, man. Right? Your ox is always in somebody's yard. He's always chasing the neighborhood children. He's just pushing in time past. And it had been testified to the owner, meaning they laid charges against your evil beast, and he have not kept him in. Certain people got that neighborhood pit bull, man, that's always getting out. And the owner don't give a damn, man. Just put that big fat beware of dog sign, man. The damn gate crooked. Right under it, it's like the dog that almost clawed through the damn gate, man. That's a big fat hole in a fence somewhere. And he got the nerve to never be home. That's the type of spirit this man has. But that he have killed a man or a woman, the ox shall be stoned, and his owner shall, Salakia, also should be put to death. You have to be put to death for what your beast did. If there be laid on him a sum of money, meaning somebody say, well, you know what? We may not put you to death for what your ox have done. Look, just give me 30 shekels of silver. Give me 60 shekels of silver. Then he shall give for the ransom for his life. Meaning he should be able to pay to get out of death. But that's not in all cases. That's why the law is just. It gives you an opportunity. Right? And even much more does Yahweh proceed and go even farther than that with mercy and grace. And things farther than our comprehension of understanding. The Lord said he lays upon man less than thou iniquity deserves. So when you break your arm, you twist your neck, or you really get into a car accident, and the Lord could have really killed you, man. It says, then shall he give for the ransom of his life whatsoever is laid upon him. Then he may be laid upon a charge, and you could pay that off to get out of that. But you're not going to be able to pay off in recompense all the wickedness that you have done to the children of Israel. Right, let me get this quick precept. Right, let me get the... But matter of fact, I'm going to come back to that precept. It says this, verse 5. Because ye have taken my silver and my gold. What is the silver and the gold? We are the silver and the gold, man. Right, on one fold, but on another fold, they have literally stole and took everything from us. Because even during the times where they did trade in the Levant and the Mediterranean Sea, the children of Judah were there. And as the children of Judah were there, they were doing trade. So they have stole physically silver and gold from the children of Israel, as well as us as bodies being silver and gold. Right, let me get this quick precept. So we're offered the silver and gold in the eyes of God, man. You have certain brothers, they're gold. You have certain brothers, they're silver. Right, this is the book of Jeremiah, right, chapter 6, and verse number 30. It says this. Reprobate silver shall men call them, because the Lord have rejected them. So the Lord could reject you from a gold-like, king-like estate, and you'd be classified and looked at as reprobate silver. Now, silver is still a precious metal, and it's still, a commodity and could be sold and traded, it could be used, but nevertheless, it's nothing like gold. But men are likening it so. But then you have that man that's truly likened unto gold. Let's go to Job chapter 23 and verse number 10. It's the mighty book of Job, chapter 23 and verse 10. But he knoweth the way that I take. When he have tried me, I shall come forth as gold. And as the Lord tries us, we come forth as gold, man. Right? And they took all of those precious things from us. Let me get first Esdras chapter 2 and verse number 10. And that's what happens in war. When one nation is in control or comes into power, they ravish and steal all of the next nation's companies, power, right, allegiance, military might, gold, wealth, buckers, armor, all of those things. What happened to Rehoboam, man? When Shishak came up from Egypt. And when you go into the history, they classified him as not even a real Egyptian. They say he was a Libyan, had Libyan blood. He came up, and what did he do to Solomon? Salaki, what did he do to Rehoboam? He took all of the gold bucklers that Solomon, his father, had built. Not only did he take them, but he came to the temple. And what part of the temple did Shishak come to, man? He came to the armory section, and he robbed them blind. Yeah, you may take gold and silver, which is fair and well, but how much more if you take a brother's guns? Take all of his, you took a shotgun, you took his AK, you took his ARs, you took his swords, you took all of his knives. And that's what Shishak did. And he left him, right, armorless, for lack of better term. So those men had to build all over again all of those shields for brass, man. How long would that take? When Solomon did all of that gold and all of that building in 1 Kings, the 10th chapter, verse 14 all the way down, right? Chiefly 17 and 18. How long would that take? So when these nations steal from us, it's a big deal. It's not, well, they stole from us. Oh, leave it alone. Let the past be the past. You know how long it takes to build up a kingdom, man? You know how long it took for us to build up America? And then you can steal it all in one day, all in one night. Right? This is the book of 1 Esdras chapter 2 and verse 10. King Cyrus also brought forth the holy vessels which Nebuchadnezzar had carried away from Jerusalem. So when King Cyrus, right, what they would call Cyrus, King Cyrus the Great, so-called, right, the second, when he came up and he took down Nebuchadnezzar, he took all of the spoils that Nebuchadnezzar had. So you don't have to go to war with 15 countries and 15 like states to reap all of the spoils. That's why America in this standing state has taken down all of these nations, right? Has taken down Spain, has taken down France, has went to war in the Middle East. What do you think they have stolen? Right? They have took down our forefathers, our heritage, have raped Gad, and took all of their spoils. What do you think they're sitting on somewhere in America in a museum somewhere, man? Right? Ancient shields and things of our forefathers as well as these other nations. And I bet you these rich elites, they'll probably sit with a bagpipe, right? In a rich chair somewhere, and they cast lots and bid for ancient things. Right? It says, and he set up in his temple of idols. Now, let me get this quick precept. I quoted it, but I want to read it. Let's go to the book of 1 Kings chapter 14 and verse 24. It says, moreover, the Lord shall raise up, right? Let me see if this is what I want. Yeah, I'm going to start at 14, right? It says this, moreover, the Lord shall raise him up, a king over Israel, whom shall cut off the house of Jeroboam in that day. But what? Even now. For the Lord shall smite Israel as a reed is shaken in the water, and he shall not root up Israel out of this good land, which he gave to their fathers, and shall scatter them beyond the river, because they have made their groves provoking the Lord to anger. And he shall give up Israel because of the sins of Jeroboam, who did sin, who made Israel to sin. Right? So we got delivered up by the hands of who? Our forefathers, and all of the wicked things that they have done. Jumping down to verse 21. And Rehoboam, the son of Solomon, reigned in Judah. Rehoboam was 41 years old when he began to reign, and he reigned 17 years in Jerusalem and his cities, right? And the Lord did cause out of the tribes of Israel to put his name there, and his mother's name was Naaman the Ammonitess. And Judah did evil in the sight of the Lord. This is the point. And they provoked him to jealousy with their sins, which they have committed above all that their fathers have done. So for their sins and for their rebellion, that's what the Lord did. But they also built them high places and images and groves on every high hill under every green tree. And there were also Sodomites in the land. So Sodomites were in the land during the time of Rehoboam. Not only were they in the land, but they were next to the temple of God. They were next to the temple of the Lord, man. What type of king is going to have Sodomites in the land with their strange abominations? Right? It says this, and they did according to all the abominations of the nations. What does Esau do when he gets alone? You have reveling parties, banquetings, they're getting drunk, they popping one another. They have all of these type of sodomite fairs and clubs and venues. It says they did after the abomination of the nations. So Rehoboam's mind wasn't right when he was leading, which the Lord cast out before the children of Israel. And it came to pass in the 5th year, King Rehoboam, that Shishak, king of Egypt, came up against Jerusalem. Now, what happened when he did that? And he took away the treasures of the house of the Lord, meaning he robbed them blind. And that's what these nations do. They take your treasury, your chief things, and the treasuries of the king's house. He even took away all that he took away, all the shields of gold which Solomon had made. And King Rehoboam made in their stead brazen shields. Right, so instead of having gold, we went from having gold shields to now being classified as those men being over that chief house making brazen shields. So these nations will take everything from you, man, and rob you blind. Right, let me get this quick precept. Let me go back to this. It's the book of Joel, chapter 3, right? And verse number, let's start at 6. It says, and the children also of Judah and the children of Jerusalem have ye sold unto the Grecians. Right? It says that ye may remove them far from their borders. So we even got sold. Now, where is that written at? Let's go to the book of Ezekiel. Right? It said we got sold to the Grecians. Now, when it says Grecians, right, it's talking about men that dwelled in those isles. Right? You had the Iconian, right, the Aegean Sea. You had different parts, right, before the so-called white man came and stole that land during the Greek Empire, which is also personified when you go into it as the Dark Ages. Right, what they would call the Dark Greek Ages. Right, this is the book of Ezekiel, right, chapter 27. Let me get this quick precept. In verse 13. Right, Javan, right, which are the sons of Japhet, Tubal and Meshach, they were thy merchants. They traded the persons of men and vessels of brass in thy market. So they had a slave market, man. So Tyre and Zidon, when you hear about all of this trade, they did a hell of a lot of trade. When you read this, I mean, they did a whole lot with silver, iron, tin, lead, but let's not forget they sold people. They sold persons. They sold children as sex slaves, man. So when you go into those isles, right, and all of those men that were coming from afar and those trades, that was nothing more than a slave trade, man. Let me read that again. Javan, Tubal, Meshach, they were thy merchants. They traded the persons of men and the vessels of brass, right, in thy markets. So when they had thy markets, those are the things that they were selling. Let me get Revelation, right, just like Babylon the Great, chapter 18, and verse 13. It says this, and cinnamon and odors and ointments and frankincense, these are the things that they sell, and wine and oil and fine flour and wheat and beast and sheep and horses and chariots and slaves and souls of men. So it's also sold in Babylon, slaves and souls of men. Because your soul is literally in this place, man. Because you don't want to leave it. So when the Lord says, rise ye and depart, that's talking about spiritually. Get your mind, your spirit, and your soul out of this place, man, and come back to the law, statutes, and commandments. Stop being a slave mentally to everything that they throw upon you. This is the book of Joel, chapter 3, and verse number 6 again. It says, the children also of Judah and the children of Jerusalem have ye sold unto the Grecians, that ye may remove them far from their borders. Right, let me get this quick precept. Right, and I'm gonna scroll down just a little bit more. It's the mighty book, right, of Ezekiel, chapter 27. And I'm gonna start at 27. Right, it says, thy riches and thy fares and thy merchandise, thy marines, meaning all of the men that were afar off doing ships and trades, and thy pilots and thy caulkers and thy occupiers of merchandise, and all thy men of war that are in thee. Right, they had an army. Right, this wasn't a small deal. And in all thy company, which is in the midst of thee, shall fall into the midst of the seas in the day of thy ruin. Right, because thy seas was like a big trade and port that they may get all of their money. It says this, behold, I will raise them out of their places, whether ye have sold them. Meaning literally Syrie, Zidon, and all of these different places, they have sold us afar off in these different slave trades. So when you go to the time of the New Testament, the time, during the time of Babylonian captivity, Israel, yeah, we were together, but we wasn't always together completely. When you read the book of Jeremiah, the 25th chapter, let me get this quick precept. You had certain men that went off and were slaves. You had certain other men that were left poor in the land during the Babylonian captivity, thrust through, killed. Other men were shipped off. Other men were put in slave trades. Right? Let me get this quick precept. This is the book of Jeremiah, chapter 25, in verse number 15. For thus saith the Lord, God of Israel, unto me, take the wine, the cup of this fury at my hand, and cause all nations to whom I send it to drink it. And they shall drink it and be moved and mad because of the sword that I will send among them. Then took I the cup at the Lord's hand and made all nations to drink in whom the Lord has sent me. To wit, Jerusalem, the cities of Judah, and the kings thereof, and the princes thereof, to make them a desolation. Because if the Lord's going to judge anybody, he's going to judge us first. And astonishment and hissing and a curse, as it is this day. Pharaoh, king of Egypt, and his servants and his princes and all his people, and all the mingled people, and all the kings in the land of Oz, and all the kings in the land of the Philistines, and Ashlon, and Ogs, and Ekron, and the remnant of Ashdod. So all of these strange Africans, these Philistines, right, and all of the mingled people amongst them, the Elamites, right, Edom and Moab, and the children of Ammon, and all the kings of Tyrus, and all the kings of Zidon, and the kings of the isles, which are beyond the sea. So they don't get away neither, man. It's not just Esau. Yeah, we're going to get on Esau, right? He's the top of the bulletin, man. You're going to get extra stripes. But we can't forget about Moab, Ammon, Ekron, Ashdod, the Philistines, right? And all of the different places and the mingled people where they dwelt at. And we can't forget about Tyre and Zidon, right? Which are Africans, right? And these nations, they hate you. Don't Africans come out and protest that they sold you into slavery, man? They don't hide it. They're a very proud people, man. All these nations are proud. Right, I'm going to come back to this. But nevertheless, when you go into this, these are all nations, right, that had a part that are not going to get away of the Lord's wrath. Right, let me get this quick precept. Matter of fact, let me go back to Joel. This is Joel chapter 3 and verse 6. It said that ye may remove them far from their borders. Behold, I will raise them out of the places where ye have sold them, and will return your recompense upon your own head. And then I'm going to judge you, and I'm going to raise up my people from the far states that you will put them in the isles of the sea. I mean, imagine having your child, man, or your mother stripped from you, put on a ship, and you never see her again. That's Deuteronomy, man, chapter 28 and 32. Right, let me get that real fast. These laws are serious, man. These curses are serious. It's the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 28, verse 32. And thy sons and thy daughters shall be given unto another people. And it's the part that hurt the most. And thine eyes shall look and fail with longing for them all the day long. And there shall be no might in thy hand. Why? Because they were spread abroad during all of these strange places where we were literally sold to be slaves. It says, behold, I will raise them out of their places where ye have sold them, and return your recompense upon your own head. Now, let me get a precept on that. Let me get 2 Thessalonians chapter 1 and verse 6. It's the book of 2 Thessalonians chapter 1 and verse number 6, and it reads, seeing it is a righteous thing with God to recompense tribulation to them that trouble. That's a righteous thing, man. It's a very righteous thing. That's why I feel so good, which you shouldn't as of now, to get your own vengeance. When you get vengeance, you feel good, man. Right? Let it be two kids playing. And the mom come and snatch the ball out of one hand. Right? Then the other kid kind of laughing. Then the mom snatched the ball out of the other kid's hand. And now it's equal. You just feel, the little kid feels better, man. Let somebody get jumped, robbed, or hurt at school, and then they wind up dead or jump themselves, man. Hey, people glory in that, man. It feels good to get vengeance, but in the right-hand side, not taking vengeance on the left-hand side out of your own will. Because when you do that, you end up like Nat Turner. You end up like a lot of these men that take matters in their own hands that was not under the order of the Lord, and they will put to death for it. Because when you're under the hand of the Lord and the leadership of the Lord, right, you're not going to fall. It says, seeing it is a righteous thing. And the Lord said, cursed be he that keepeth back his arm and his hand from war, man, and bloodshed. So, I mean, you'll be cursed. Didn't the Lord say that in the book of Numbers? Right, let me get this quick precept. Hey, Moses would have cursed those men if they didn't go to war. Right, let me get this quick precept. This is the mighty book of Numbers, chapter 32, and I'm going to start at verse number 20. And it reads, and Moses said unto them, if ye will do this thing, meaning if you will go to war, if ye will go armed before the Lord to war, meaning if you will do this thing and will go all of you armed over Jordan before the Lord until ye have driven out his enemies before them, meaning no matter how long this war takes or what it takes, if you go hard for the Most High with bloodshed, and the land shall be subdued before the Lord, then afterward ye shall return and be guiltless before the Lord. Meaning you will have charges. The Lord will have charges against you if you don't go to war and risk your life, man. That's why those men that are scared, when you read the book of Deuteronomy, the 20th chapter, where I will draw themselves, verse 8 all the way down, those men aren't fit to be in the army. The Lord didn't give us the spirit of fear, but of a sound mind. So you have to have the mentality, why am I scared of something the Lord created? Doesn't the Lord form your hands, your thoughts, your mind, your spirit? Doesn't he have the one to have David overtake a bear and a lion and a giant and rule, right? Being yet a youth. And what can't the Most High do? Judas Maccabeus took down all armies, man. So he said, then afterward you shall return and be guiltless before the Lord and before Israel. I mean, you'll be charged with Israel too. Israel will look at you up and down. I mean, it's even the same spirit now, man. Let a brother run from a fight. Let your mans run from a fight. Y'all right there, and y'all about to get it in, man. You look up, he gone. Right? You're gonna have charges against him. And this land shall be your possession before the Lord, man. Check that out, man. Let me go back to this. It says this is the book of Joel, chapter 3 and verse 8. And I will sell your sons and your daughters into the hand of the children of Judah, and they shall sell them unto the Sabians, to a people far off, for the Lord hath spoken it. Right? That's not saying when the Lord recompense us that there's going to be one nation among 1,000 that are not going to be sold as well. Right? That wouldn't make any sense. All nations are going to have to face the judgment that the Most High has. Now, when it says, and I will sell your sons and your daughters into the hands of the children of Judah, many will have them in possession, and they shall sell them to the Sabians, to a people far off, meaning these nations that we are derived in, we have taken on the names right in their nationalities. Right? The Lord said when he writes up the elect, he's going to write up the elect, and he's going to name, they're going to be named in other countries, taking on other names. When you read the book of Psalms, chapter 87. Right? Who would have ever thought a man would be classified as a European living in Europe, or a Europe citizen, right? Or me, an American, or this brother in Africa, in all of these different places where we derive. Right? This is the book of Psalms, chapter 87, verse 2. It says, the Lord loved the gates of Zion more than the dwellings of Jacob. Meaning the Lord loves the elect and the chief men over men that are just in Israel. It says, because, I mean, JJ at the store sipping a wino, or a rapist or a killer, right? The Lord's going to have more respect and love for the gates of Zion. The Lord loves the elect. He loves David. He loves Peter, James, John. He loves these men. And Yahweh shall pray for those men when you read the book, right, of John, the 17th chapter. So he loves the gate, destruction, and strength more than all the dwellings of Jacob. Glorious things are spoken of thee, O city of God, Salah. I will make mention of Rahab and Babylon to them that know me. Behold, Philistia and Tyre with Ethiopia. This man was born there. This man is the elect. He's born in Tyre. He's born in Ethiopia. He's born in Philistia. He's born in Babylon. And of Zion, it shall be said that this man was born in her. And the highest himself shall establish her. And this is the point. The Lord shall count when he writeth up the people. Who is he counting? The Lord has had everything already counted. The only men that are counted are the elect, the 144,000. The 144,000 are not just in America, in your city, bro, in just your camp. These men are spread abroad, and everything isn't recorded. You may see a brother shaking the hand, confounding the heathen. He has to be a prophet of the Lord. Look at his might. Surely he's David. Surely he's Peter. Look at all the other accounts in America, if not Africa, England, right? And all the other places in the world that was never recorded. That confounded that heathen 7 times stronger with the word and power and might of Yahweh Shah. Right? Everything don't have to be recorded. Everything don't have to be seen. Hey, if it wasn't for the internet, a lot of men wouldn't really know a lot of things that are going on. Just because you have a lot of debates, contention, and popularity in Israel does not mean that anybody solidified or the elect. Right? The Lord is going to count these men up and write these men up from various places all throughout the earth. That this man was born in her, Salah. Right? Let me go back to it. Right? So Sabians is not talking about, right, the other nations. It says, proclaim ye this amongst the Gentiles. Prepare war. Wake up the mighty men. Let all the men of war draw near. Let them come up. Proclaim this amongst the Gentiles, man. And the Lord always has a rumor or proclaiming something amongst the nations. The Lord told Isaiah to lift up the banner in the book of Isaiah, the 13th chapter. He told Obadiah, proclaim this. There's a rumor from the Lord, man. And the Lord said the same thing to Jeremiah chapter 49, verse 7 all the way down. Hey, we have heard a rumor from the Lord, man. We have had dreams and visions. We have seen things in the scriptures that other men that were before us didn't have the revelation of. So we're seeing the things that the Lord is profounding to happen in the last days, man. Let's go to Obadiah chapter 1 in verse number 1. The vision of Obadiah, thus saith the Lord, concerning Edom. We have heard a rumor from the Lord. An ambassador is sent among the heathen. Who's an ambassador? We are the ambassadors, man. The ambassadors are the prophets. Right, let me get that in the book. I believe that's 2 Corinthians 5:20. Right, I believe. Let me get this quick piece up. It says, now, then are we ambassadors for Christ. Who is the we? The apostles. Those men are the face and the mouthpiece for the Lord. It says, as though God did beseech you by us, we pray you in Yahweh's stead that ye be reconciled to God. So the Lord says, now then we are ambassadors for Christ. So when the Lord said an ambassador is sent among the heathen, that's the men to go proclaim their judgments. You're commanded to proclaim the judgments on these nations. You're commanded to shake the hand against the White House, shake the hand against the Lincoln Memorial, shake the hand against all of these places that are memorials and statues and renowned places in Babylon and all of the different states. Arise ye and let us arise up against her in battle, man. Right, so let me get this quick precept. Let me go to Jeremiah chapter 49 and verse 7. It's the book of Jeremiah chapter 49 and verse number 7. And it reads, concerning Edom, saith the Lord of hosts, is wisdom no more in Teman? Is counsel perished from the prudent? Is their wisdom vanished? Flee ye, turn back, dwell deep, O inhabitants of Dedan. For I will bring the calamity of Esau upon him, the time that I will visit him. So the Lord's going to visit him, man, and get up with him, right? And he's going to have judgment to proclaim and come against all of these nations. Let me jump down to 14. I have heard a rumor from the Lord. An ambassador is sent unto the heathen. So whenever the Lord judged a place, he sent out Ezekiel, Isaiah. Yeah, he's sending them out for Israel. Indefinitely and truly are they sent forth. But these nations have to hear their judgment too. These nations have to understand as well. As they're bowing down and hearing their judgment, prophecy is going to take place by them hearing their judgment. The famine of the words of the Lord, right? Persecution, counsels that we have to be delivered up to, right? For keeping and holding stiff and strong for the words of God. So we can negate that part of prophecy also by shaking the hand against these other nations. Saying, gather ye together and come against her and rise up to battle. That's how ancient leaders will go up, man. Right? They would send an ambassador and or a messenger. And if things wasn't related properly, all hell would break loose. Isn't that what happened with Saul? When a company of his men came up and then they sent one more and they said, you know what? Let's settle this. Let's just send forth one warrior and I'm going to send forth another warrior. Those are those ambassadors that came to me. Like, let's just settle this like this. I'm going to send Goliath and then I'm going to have one man come from Israel. Then David stepped up and David demolished him, huh? By the hand of the Most High, by a sling. Right, it's the book of Joel, right, chapter 3, verse number 9. It says this, proclaim ye this amongst the Gentiles, prepare war. Wake up the mighty men. Wake up meaning stir up that spirit that's in them. All of these nations have an ancient spirit that the Most High is going to stir up in the last days. You have an ancient spirit. And that just made the wear Timberlands and smoke weed, man, and eat all of the chicken, known to man, and talk all of the SHI, you know what, and get all of the money, man, and throw it in the air. You're not made to be in that image. You're made to be in the image of the Most High. When the Most High stir you up, like it says in the book of Genesis, chapter 49, verse 8, all the way down, who shall rise up Judah, man? Who's going to rouse up that line? Hey, whenever you get, they call them prep speeches, and you know, you kind of go into it like when you watch these movies in halftime, and you know, they were down by 15 points. You know, they don't think they could come back. They may not make it. Next thing you know, they have a pep talk, right? They go into that exhortation, that speech. Next thing you know, they ready to score 50, be on fire. They're ready for this thing to go down, man. It says this, beat your plowshares into swords. Now, let me get this other quick precept. I'm going to let all of the men of war draw near. Let's go to Revelation chapter 16. So the spirit in them has to be roused up in order for them to meet, in order for things, right, to transpire. All right, this is the book of Isaiah. So like this is Revelation chapter 16, and I'm gonna start at verse 15. Behold, I come as a thief. Blessed is he that watcheth and keepeth his garment, lest he walk naked, and they see his shame. And he gathered them together into a place called in the Hebrew tongue Armageddon. And Armageddon is going to be that chief place, which is also known as Jehoshaphat, the day of judgment, when the Lord comes and cracks the sky. That's not going to be the last battle and the last war, but it is before the Most High comes back through his son Yahweh and redeems his people. In the midst of Armageddon, it says this, and the seventh angel, right, I'm going to rush right there, right, I'm going to read this point again. And he answered them together, Slakia, and he gathered them together into a place called in the Hebrew tongue Armageddon. It's the book of Joel, chapter 3, and I'm going to start at verse 10. Beat your plowshares into swords. Now, for brothers that don't know what a plowshare is, this is a plowshare that you would do work with, right? So, like, bear with me. Right, that's a plowshare where you would do work with. Now, those plowshares were very heavily used in the fields, right, where they would beat down crops, right, and break up the ground. But the Lord said this, beat your plowshares into swords, meaning make you weapons. And that's going into what? War. But in the day of peace, in the day of deliverance, the Lord said to beat your swords into plowshares. So it's an opposite. Right, let me get this quick precept in the book of Micah. Right, it's the book of Micah, chapter 4, and verse, right, straight to the point, verse 3. And he shall judge among many people and rebuke strong nations afar off, and they shall beat their swords into plowshares and their spears into plunge hooks. So in the day of deliverance and peace, in the day of the Lord and the kingdom, all weaponry and all things that can harm us or come against us are going to be destroyed. You're not going to be able to come up against Israel in no type of way. I mean, you got brothers in jail, they taking that toothbrush, they scraping it against the ground, just lusting for a weapon, man. Lusting for something. Hey, these nations, they going to want to get over on us, but they can't. Because we're going to take their strength from them. It says, nation shall not lift up sword against nation, neither shall they learn war anymore. So this is going to be in the kingdom, but yet now the Lord said, beat your plowshares into swords and your plunging hooks into spears. Meaning the Lord is with building military warfare, military weapons, grade A missiles, grade A military systems with evaporators and missiles and all type of drones and AK-47s. The Lord's with all of that. Let the weak say, I am strong. Who is the weak? The weak are these low-level nations. Ukraine, Taiwan. They're weak in number, but yet they're going to be strong through their alliances and the things that they're going to link up with right through their military might. Right? It may be a nation that's very weak, but they're in an alliance and an allegiance, you know, with another nation that's 7 times stronger than them. So in those days, the weak are going to say, you know what, I am strong. Because they're going to feel like they have the might to be able to go to war through beating their plunge hooks into swords. Right, let me get this quick piece up. Let's go to the book of Isaiah, chapter 14. Now, when going to war, you want to take your chiefest of men when you go to war. You don't want to just take Larry, man, from down the street. Right? This is the book of 1 Samuel, chapter 14 and 52. It says, and there was sore war against the Philistines all the days of Saul. And when Saul saw any strong man, meaning when Saul saw anybody that could go to war, anybody that could lift up a sword, anybody that could snap a neck or kill a man without using a weapon, or any valiant man, he took him unto him. And he said, I need that man in my army. I need this brother over there. Oh yeah, he could be very useful. And they recruit people, man. Don't think these armies in these different places, they don't come to these high schools and they recruit people, man. Right? You see the brother going up the rope like this. Right? He done reach the top. Right? Then you got Brad, right? He done wrote him down. Yeah, I like him. Right? He get on to call his lieutenant. Yeah, I think we got a good boy. Strong boy. Yep. Right, then he come up with you this big fat pamphlet and you start talking about money, success, safety, renownness, doing well for your country, being a hero, benefits. And before he has played the violin with sorcery, right, he has rocked you to sleep. Now the next thing you know, you got a cap on and you're fighting in his war, man. That's on this man's system. But in the ancient world, right, men would gather men that were strong together. The Lord said, can two walk together lest they be agreed? Let me get this quick precept. Let's go to the book of 1 Samuel, chapter 13, right? And I'm going to start at 19. Now there was no smith found throughout all the land of Israel. And we used to have smiths in the ancient world now. And when there's no smith found, all hell could break loose if there's no smith. What do smiths do? They make weapons. They make armory. Who's your modern day smith? Let me dive into it. Right, these are your modern day smiths. Physicist J. Robert Oppenheimer. Now the Oppenheimers are important and pivotal for introducing nuclear warfare and bombs. It says, Robert Oppenheimer, no one person can be credited with producing the world's first atomic bomb, but two men had outsized achievements. What the hell was their mind at, man? How do you invent an atomic bomb? You had to be sitting around one day and says, how can I destroy the earth? How can I destroy cities? I don't know who thinks like that. Jake at their worst, how am I going to take over my hood and my block? I want to have this on lock. But they don't want to kill everybody in it. They just want to be that man and rule over. And everybody report to them type of spirit. I want to be the chief. And everybody else is an Indian. Jake mindset twisted, but it ain't nothing like the so-called white man's. You have to be sitting down saying, you know what? How can I destroy all of Texas? Now I'll do you better with his bagpipe. With his bagpipe. I'll do you better. How do we destroy America? Then they get down with all of their sitting up there, architectural work, and God knows how, because the Most High put it in their spirit. These men came up with these inventions. It says, let me get this quick point. Let me see. I had it pulled up. Let me see. Salaki, bear with me. It says, was Oppenheimer a good person? Okay, Con probably want to dive into that. Yeah, it's worth diving into. So these men, you know, they came up with the atomic bomb right through the hand of the Most High, putting it in their spirit to do those things. Those are the modern day Smiths. Right, let me go back to this. It says, now there was no smith found throughout all the land of Israel. But the Philistines said, lest the Hebrews make swords or spears. Right? So the Philistines' mind was, look, man, they don't have any smith. So let's get them now, lest they make themselves swords and spears. What do you think these nations are looking at other nations in? The military might and their strength, how much they can overcome, how much they can do. Now, let me get this real fast. You have alliances in the world and partnerships. This is the U.S. Department of Defense, right? Let me check this out real fast. Some examples of alliances that the U.S. is included: NATO, the North Atlantic Treaty Organization with 28 other countries; NORAD, right, which is the North American Aerospace Defense Command with Canada; ANZUS, right, or ANZUS, the Australian, New Zealand, and U.S. Security Treaty and Moroccan American Treaty and Friendship, which is America's oldest broken treaty. So they have the treaties, and then they also have partnerships. And we're not going to dive into all of America's partnerships, right? But nevertheless, it says, in fact, the newly named nation, Northern Macedonia, is well on its way to doing just that. Its former approved protocol is awaiting signatures from 29 nations in NATO as a proceed to like a process that expands to wrap up by the end of this year and early next year. So they want to grow NATO. They want to grow these alliances. And these nations are coming together just to divide. But nevertheless, when you go to war, it really don't matter in your mind who you're fighting with. You just want to take down the enemy. Right? If you're getting jumped, man, and somebody in a crowd or hop out the car and start helping, you're not going to say, identify yourself. Who are you? What are you doing here? Do I know you? Right? And I'm not going to read all of this, but I've pulled this up before. This is the foreignpolicy.org, military alliances in the world. I mean, from the African Union, the Shanghai, right? You have thousands of them. Axis of resistance, the show the Peninsula of Force in the Persian Gulf. So a large amount of the time, how you weigh alliances and prophecy, right, along with wisdom as well as discernment in the scriptures and linking up the prophecies correctly, is you want to know who these alliances are, who these people are. I was like, prophesied in 2nd Ezra 15th chapter, it was going into Asia, what's going on over. Okay, I know what this is talking about over here. You got the EU, you got the 10 toes. Okay, I know what this is talking about, Babylon the Great. Okay, I know what their alliances they're incorporated with. And this is how you kind of weigh things on a scale, on a political, aspect. Right? They got political, right, as well as economic alliances, as well as offense and defense and councils. Intercontinental, right, things that they got going on. And we're not going to go into all of this, but nevertheless, just breezing over some of these through the spirit can help you dive into this thing, right? Let me go back to this. It's the book of 1 Samuel, right, chapter 19. It's like at 13 and verse 20. But all the Israelites went down to the Philistines to sharpen every man his share in his cauldron, and his axe, and his madlock. Right? So people, they getting ready for war, they sharpening up their swords right before it's time to fight. That's exactly what the Lord is saying that these nations are doing. Right now, they're getting prepared. Let me read verse 11. It says this. Matter of fact, let me get one more. Let me get Isaiah chapter 54. Right, and every time I hear this precept, I think about when I was in Christianity, when my mother took me to church as a child. Right, and the so-called pastor. Right, I believe I was getting bad grades or something. I was struggling in school of some sort. And he pulled Isaiah 54:17. He said, never forget that precept. No weapon formed against you shall prosper. There's nothing that you can't do in school. And I didn't know what was going on. I was a young man. But as I mature and come into this thing and come into the spirit, right, and the Most High showed me, right, mercifully, the words of God, right? I mean, Christianity is the biggest joke that you can know about or being. It's the book of Isaiah, chapter 54:16. Behold, I have created the smith that bloweth the coals. Who created it? The Most High created it. He created the smith that bloweth the coals in the fire, and that bringeth forth an instrument for his work. What's the instrument? You have many instruments that the Lord has created. Now, what this is called also is the U.S. Department of Defense. Now, we know that they have secret things that they don't show us, but what they do show us, we have in part. Now, they're putting on the table all of their so-called weapons that America possesses on the U.S. Department of Defense. They have their land weapons, their sea weapons, and their air weapons, and their vehicles that they use. Right? Now, this says from land. More than 10,000 people provide up to 400 on alert combat ready LGM 30G Millennium 3 intercontinental ballistic missiles, or ICBMs, and the hardness of silos across 5 states. So they're just coming out and telling you, look, we got that. And this is on land. So if you want to know how we're going to protect you as a country, they got their own state. So like they got their own website showing you, hey, look, man, don't panic. These are the weapons that your system, so like your nation has. Intercontinental ballistic missiles, LGM 30G Millennium 3. So this is what they have. This is the Smith, your modern day Smith. Now in the ancient world, they didn't have this. That's how we know it's the end of the world, at the Most High is tapping into the minds of these scientists. It says features. It's telling you the weapons, how strong they are, their background, their general characteristics. Check this out. Now you got their sea missiles, ballistic missiles, submarine, or boomers. They got the boomers in the sea. So when you read Revelation, the 8th chapter, and all of these prophetic books, right, like we just read in Ezekiel 27, right, that was literally the seaport in Tyre and Zidon, but America's Tyre and Zidon all over again. And they're going to be destroyed in the seas. Ballistic missile submarines. So you got submarines that could shoot ballistic missiles. And I don't know if it's wise to play a clip, because they may flag the channel, because you can't re-record certain things. Check that out, man. Ohio class ballistic missile submarine SSBN. Stainless steel. And then they have air. And check this out. Now, these are the things that John saw when you read the book of Revelation. Your stealth bombers, your B-2A Spirit, your B-252H, right? These are some of, and this is not even all of it. They only gave you 2. I'm led to believe, I'm just speaking as a man, they may have over 20 to 100 different varieties of these different air vehicles. Because think about it, man. When you playing Call of Duty or these other little games, or you may go to a gun range, you have thousands of guns to pick from, and you're a civilian. How much more the U.S. government? And that's just on a physical level with what the world would call a handgun. How much more top flight things that are going to so-called protect their nation? Right, let me go back into it. Right, this is the book. Right, let me finish Isaiah. This is Isaiah chapter 54:16. Behold, I have created the smith that bloweth the coals in the fire, and that bringeth forth an instrument for his work. And I have created the waster to destroy. The Lord created that, man. World War III is on the rise. It's going to happen. Lord willing to happen soon. But before it happened, I want everybody's spirit to be upright before the Most High before we hasten our destruction. And Most High willing, nobody watching this live is destroyed in the day of God, the day of the Most High. We want to make sure that we have clean hands. The Lord said, woe is unto you who desire for the day of the Lord, man. What is it unto thee? So you want to make sure that your hands are clean and you understand how serious this is. But this is the book of Joel chapter 3, and I'm going to start at 11. Assemble yourselves and come, all ye heathen, and gather yourselves together round about. Thither cause thy mighty ones to come down, O Yahweh. So all of the mighty ones, meaning these other nations and the kings of the east, are going to come down and make their way into the valley of Jehoshaphat, Jehoshaphat, on the east of Mount Olives in Israel. Now that's the biblical location where this all is going to take place. Well, let me get this quick precept. Let's go to the book of Revelation, chapter 16, and verse number 12. And the sixth angel poured out his veil upon the great river Euphrates, and the water thereof was dried up, that the way of the kings of the east might be prepared. So over in that east, which is classified as the Middle East, right, and classified in that area, all hell was going to break loose from that region. You don't have a lot of prophecy and propheticness coming from Antarctica, man, or Ireland. It's going to hum down in the kings of the east. They're going to make their way up there. Right? The Lord said in the book of 2nd Esdras, the 15th chapter. Right? Let me get this quick precept. This is 2nd Esdras, chapter 15 and 20. And it says this: Behold, saith Yahweh, I will call together all the kings of the earth. So the Lord's calling. When it says make thy way, I've heard an ambassador, all of these things, beat your plowshares into hooks, to reverence me, which are from the rising of the sun, meaning on the east. Those are the kings the Lord is going to cause to come down and reverence him. It says from the rising of the east, because the sun rises in the east and sets in the west. It says from the south, from the east, because you have the east, right? Then you have the south, you have the west, and then you have the north, right? So the Lord said the sun from the south, from the east, from Lebanon, right? Lebanon, right? To turn themselves one against another. So where is this going to happen at? The east. So when you link up Revelation, like the 16th chapter, right, verse 12 all the way down, as well as 2nd Esdras, the 15th chapter, you know, as well as going into Joel, the 3rd chapter, and various other precepts, they all speak the same things. Right? These prophets, they prophesied in part, and the next prophet picks up what the other one have laid down. I've even heard them brothers saying that they had a dream. And another brother saying, you know what, I had that same dream, but it's a little bit more than that. It's a little bit more than that. And repay the things that they have done on them. Let me go back to Revelation. We'll read that again. And the sixth angel poured out his vial upon the great river Euphrates, and the water thereof was dried up, that the way of the kings of the east might be prepared. Prepared to do what? To go over. That they may be judged in the Lord. Right? This is the book of Joel, chapter 3, right, in verse number 12. Let the heathen be weakened and come up to the valley of Jehoshaphat. For there will I sit to judge all the heathen round about. Now the Lord isn't going to physically sit down and physically judge. It's all parabolic and hip talk. When the Lord says he's going to sit down and judge, let's go to 2 Corinthians 5 and 10. For we must all appear before the judgment seat of Yahweh. Now, is that literal? So the Lord going to physically have a seat where he's going to judge. We have to physically come up and appear before Yahweh in the judgment seat. No, that's not literal. The judgment seat of the Lord is the day of judgment. The Lord even said when you read the book of Sirach, right, Sirach, the 13th chapter. Let me get this quick precept. Right, this is the book of Sirach, right, chapter 13. And I'm going to start at verse, this whole thing is fire. 29. Right, let me just pull it up on here so folks can see it. Right, this is the book of 2nd Esdras, right, chapter 13. And I'm going to start at verse 29. Right, and it reads, behold, the days come when the Most High will begin to deliver them that dwell upon the earth. So the Most High is going to start showing his hand to deliver them, right, that dwell upon the earth. It says, and he shall come to the astonishment of them that dwell on the earth. So the Most High literally going to come. Is he literally going to do these things? We read the book of Micah, the 1st chapter, verse 4 all the way down. Is that literal? Right? It's all hip talk. So when the Lord says, look, you got to appear before him on a judgment seat, that means judgment. That all the things which you have done, the Lord may judge you on that day with either a swift destruction or a swift salvation, as well as the seat in the day of judgment for these nations. Because the Lord has created the wicked, right? He's created the serpent. He has created these nations, and they all have a judgment that is set in a specific time to be destroyed. Right, let me get this quick precept. Let me finish this one first. That every one may receive the things done in his body according to that he have done, whether it be good or bad. I mean, you can't escape the judgment, nor coming before the judgment seat of the Lord. It's the book of Job, chapter 14, and verse number 5. Seeing his days are determined, the number of his months are with thee. Meaning everybody has a set amount of time where the Most High will judge you, save you, redeem you, wake you up, make you fall back in the world, and or be destroyed. That thou has appointed his bounds that he cannot pass. I mean, he can't pass these things, man. No matter if he wanted to or not, he can't prolong his days. It even tells you in the book of Psalms 49 and 11, their inward thought is that thy houses will continue forever. But are their houses going to continue forever? No. When you read 2nd Esdras, right, let me get this quick precept, chapter 11, the Lord says they all watch, right, upon their talents, upon their times, paraphrasing extremely greatly. Right, it's the book of 2nd Esdras, right, chapter 11, and I'm going to start at verse 7. And I beheld, and lo, the eagle arose upon her talents, right? Meaning Esau rose up, right? You have the 12 feathers, right? You have the 3 heads, right? We're not going to necessarily go into that. Most High willing, we can on another breakdown. But Esau rose up into power upon her talents and spake to her feathers, right? The 12, saying, watch not all at once. Meaning during the Roman Empire, these different Caesars, they didn't all happen at the same time. Watch not all at once. Meaning you have to have George Washington, Abraham Lincoln, you have to have Joe Biden, you have to have Donald Trump. They all can consecutively skip time order right for the end. Right? It all has to happen on the Most High's time. Every king can't reign at the same time. So the Lord has a set judgment for nations to come into power, nations to come out of power, nations to be judged, nations to rule, right? And prosperity for a season, right? This is the book of Joel, chapter 3, right? And I'm going to start at verse number 12. Let the heathen be weakened and come up to the valley of Jehoshaphat, but there will I sit to judge all the heathen round about. Put ye in the sickle, for the harvest is ripe. Come, get ye down, for the press is full. The fats overflow, for their wickedness is great. That's talking about evil. Everything is growing, right? The Lord, as a degenerate plant that you read about, right? A strange plant, right? In Isaiah, the 5th chapter. And you're always growing fruit. It may not be the fruit you want to grow, but just like the Pentecost, all your fruit that you bring up, right? Whether it's wickedness, evil, destruction, and all manner of lewd behavior that's going to be brought before the Lord, the high priest, on the day of Pentecost. You know, it's just not going to not grow any fruit to bring, right? Maybe fruit pleasing unto the Lord, or maybe fruit that is not pleasing unto the Lord. Let me get this quick precept in Isaiah chapter 17. It's Isaiah chapter 17, and I'm going to start at verse 4. And in that day it shall come to pass that the glory of Jacob shall be made thin, and the fatness of his flesh shall wax lean, meaning that judgment. And it shall come, and it shall be as when the harvestman gathereth the corn and reapeth the ears of his arm. Huh? Meaning when that judgment starts to take place on Jacob, it's as if the harvestman took all of the corn, reaped all of the ears, that you may be left with nothing. And it shall be as he gathered the ears in the valley of Ramoth, man. So if a harvestman gathered up all the crops, you'll be left in the famine. It says, ye gleaning grapes shall be left in it as the shaking of an olive tree, 2 or 3 berries in the top of the uttermost balls, 4 or 5 in the uttermost fruitful branches thereof, saith the Lord God of Israel. At that time shall a man look to his maker. Meaning when you understand that the Most High has taken everything from you in that vineyard and in that vintage, then everybody's going to look up for hope and to be fed. He's showing you that the Most High has a time of threshing, a time where the harvest comes up, and then it's a time of threshing to where there's no more fruit. There's going to be a time where the Most High, he requires all of the wickedness of this earth. And man are like grapes, and the Lord is going to trump, right, in the valley of the wicked, man. Let me get this quick precept in 2nd Ezra chapter 9, verse 21. And it reads, and I saw and spared it greatly, and kept me a grape of the cluster, a plant of the great people. Talking about Israel. Let the multitude perish then that was born in vain, and let my grape, it says my grape, be kept, and my plant, for with great labor have I made it perfect. The other people made in vain are the other nations, the 2/3, the wicked, the evildoers, and all men that come against the Most High. The Lord said, look, let my grape, which is the elect, be kept, and my plant, the rest of Israel, for with great labor have I made it perfect. The perfect is the day of harvest. And the day of harvest, the Most High may reap all the benefits of his labor putting it in. All right, let me get one more. It's the book of 2nd Esdras. And I'm going to start at 8 and 43. Like as the husbandman's seed perish, if it come not up, and receiveth not the rain in due season, or if there come too much rain and corrupt it. So the Lord has seed upon the ground. Let me start at 41. For as the husbandman soweth much seed upon the ground, and the planteth many trees, yet the thing that is sown good in its season come not up. Because everything has a season. Neither doeth, the Lord said, Salakia, let me get this quick precept. In the book of Genesis, the 8th chapter, the Lord said there's a such thing as seed time. Seed time is when the ground is fertile and you will have the seed time for things to grow. This is the book of Genesis 8:22. While the earth remaineth seed time and harvest. So man is likened unto what? Trees. He's likened unto fruit. He's likened unto a vineyard. The Lord has times and seasons, days and years. and all of the stars, the sun, the moon, and the elements are set in order. How much more prophecy on a time scale? No, even Esau tell you that there's a doomsday clock. And I wanted to go into it, right, if time will permit. Right, I want to kind of go into this real fast. Brothers could bear with me, and I could pull this up. Right, this is the book, Salaki. This is press release Doomsday Clock. It says remains 90 seconds to midnight. Now check this out. And they kind of give you a nice little scale, you know, for some reporters and or, you know, these men that have these things, you know, weighing in the balance. They kind of know a little something. Let me check this out. It says the doomsday clock was reset at 90 seconds to midnight. It's not a long time. Still, the closest to the clock has never, it's like it has ever been to midnight. This is the closest it's ever been to midnight. Listen to this. A variety of global threats casting menacing shadows over 2024. I mean, the 2024 looking real deadly, man. Clock deliberations, including the Russia-Ukraine war, that has kicked off and that has been major and it hasn't slowed up since, right? And a declaration of nuclear arms reducing agreements of climate crisis in 2023's official designation as the hottest year on record. An increase, right, let me jump down. They had more on that. So like I was reading it earlier. It says, as though on the Titanic, leaders were steering the worlds toward catastrophic, more nuclear bombs, vast carbon immersions, dangerous pathogens, and artificial intelligence. Only the big powers like China, America, and Russia can pull us back. Despite deep autonomous, they must incorporate. So they have all of these things. Now, this is what I wanted. The many dimensions of nuclear threat. I mean, they have these things on a scale. Don't let Esau be weighing the times and you not weighing the times, man. Esau knows what's going on. Right? In the world, not in the scriptures. It says a durable end to Russia's war in Ukraine seems distant and is used of nuclear weapons by Russia. And conflict remains a serious possibility in February 2023, right? Russia President Vladimir Putin announces his decision to suspend the New Strategy Arms Reduction Treaty, New START, in March. He announces the development of tactical nuclear weapons in Bulgaria. So they're just coming out saying these things. That's one dimension of nuclear threat. Another one, nuclear spending programs in the three largest nuclear powers. China's, that's what's classified as the three largest nuclear powers. Arms race as the world's arm control. Architectural collapses. Russia and China are expanding their nuclear capabilities, and pressure mounts in Washington for the United States to respond in kind. So they say, you know what? They're building up more and more and more. They want the United States to respond. We kind of went on a small level with the things that they have, but this is another point, pivotal. Meanwhile, other potential nuclear crises fester. Iran continues to enrich in Ukrainian. So you have Iran enriching in Ukrainian, right? It's talking about Russia and Ukraine, right? It's talking about, what else did it talk about? So I can bear with me. Also, it's set to 90 seconds to midnight, right? And it says this, another bulletin point, and war in Gaza between Israel and Hamas has the potential to escalate into a wider Middle East conflict. The whole world is damn near in war, man. Look at all of these nations in war, in a civil war. But then it's going to go to a global war. It's a difference between a civil war and a global war. That global war is going to kick off with all these different nations and their confederacies, while the civil war is already in place in the neighboring countries on their soil. Let me go back to it. Right, let me bring this out. Right, so the Lord said to put in that sickle, man, because the time is now. Right, let me get Revelation chapter 14. It's the book of Revelation chapter 14 in verse number 14. Right, and it reads, and I looked, and behold, a white cloud, right, meaning a chariot, and upon the cloud one sat like unto the Son of Man, right, Hamashiach wa Malak Yahushua, having on his head a golden crown, because he's the king, and on his slaki, and in his hand a sharp sickle. That sharp sickle is likened unto a reaper, because a reaper will have a sharp sickle to thresh all of the fruit and or crops. And another angel came out of the temple crying with a loud voice to him that sat on the cloud, thrust in thy sickle and reap, for the time is come for thee to reap. So this angel was given a charge by the Most High to give Yahweh Shai to lead. And the time is now for destruction. For the harvest of the earth is ripe. Everything is ripe. And you can spit out a grape that's not ripe, man, or a watermelon or a pineapple. You love things in its ripeness. It even tells you in the book of Sirach. I don't want to, butcher the scripture, but nevertheless, it's talking about a ripe age. I don't know if that's Sirach 26, Sirach. That's the spirit. It's the book of Sirach, chapter 26 and verse 17. As the clear light is upon the holy candlestick, which is beautiful. Let that light in that menorah be lit, man. It look beautiful. So is the beauty of the face in ripe age. When you may have that ripe age, what they will call your prime. Right? You don't want to marry your wife when she's in her 60s, man. Right? You don't want to marry your wife too damn young. You want to have that ripe age where your beauty is in perfection. Everything has a ripeness to it. Your face, your body, right? And even these nations in destruction. For the time is now. And now it's getting to the point where things are getting ripe. And it's a looking about that time to be thrushed by the Lord. Reading verse 16. And he that sat on the cloud thrust in his sickle on the earth, and the earth was reaped. Jumping down to verse number 19. And the angel thrust in his sickle into the earth, and gathered the vine of the earth, and cast it into the great winepress of the wrath of God. So the Lord has a great winepress, parabolically saying he's going to gather up all nations and stomp them in together, meaning their blood is going to be up to the horse's bridle, like it says. And the winepress was trodden without the city, and blood came out of the winepress, even unto the horse's bridle, by the space of it's like 1,600 furlongs. Now, let me go back to it. This is the book of Joel, chapter 3, and verse 13. Put ye in the sickle, for the harvest is ripe. Come get ye down, for the press is full. The fats overflow. The Lord said at this point, it's overflowing, man. Hey, they even tell you if you don't hurry up and open that watermelon, it's gonna go bad, man. If you don't hurry up and open that candy, things got an expiration date on them, man. At this point, the wickedness is overflowing, for their wickedness is great. Multitudes in the valley of decision, meaning multitudes of nations. For the day of the Lord is near, and the valley of decision. So the valley of decision is coming, most high willing, soon, when all of this destruction kick off. We still have major amounts of prophecy that need to kick off before this time. The sun and the moon should be darkened, and the stars should withdraw their shining. Let me get this quick precept. Now, all that that's talking about is the light of this world. It's going to withdraw itself. Right now, the earth is still lit, if you got ears to hear, on the left-hand side. But it's not going to be lit for very long. You can still go to museums, concerts, right? Plane trips, passports, tour. You can still somewhat enjoy the fruit of your labor by going to work, putting in PTO. I mean, the light is still somewhat there. You can still be deceived by sorcery, his science, his witchcraft. But in that day when these things are shut out and America's in an uproar and it's not able to stand on its feet like it is, and it's partly broken and it's starting to fall because of all of the plagues, those are the days that the Lord is talking about. It's the book of Jeremiah, chapter 15, and verse, I'm going to start at 8. It says, their widows are increased to me above the sands of the sea. I have brought upon them against the mother of the young men a spoiler at noonday. Noonday is the height, right, where the sun is coming out at 12. I have caused him to fall upon it suddenly, and terrors are upon the city. When are terrors upon the city? At noonday. So in the height when the sun is up, that's when the Lord said terrors are going to be upon the city. She that have borne 7 languish, right, meaning a fruitful woman is going to be in distress. She have given up the ghost. Her sun is gone down while it is yet day. How can your sun go down? That's the same homology, right? Slakia, as in those cartoons when you got a cloud over your head and it's raining and I wish the sun would come out. The Lord said the sun has gone down while it's yet day. You know, all of these plagues and destruction are going to kick off, and it's going to feel as if the sun isn't shining upon you. The Lord said, make thy face shine upon thee in the book of Numbers, right when you go into it. It says, she have been ashamed and confounded, and the residue of them I will deliver to the sword before their enemies, saith the Lord. So your sun could go down and it still be daytime, but that's spiritual, that's not physical. Let me get this quick precept. It's the mighty book of Ezekiel, chapter 32 and 7. And when I shall put thee out, I will cover the heaven and make the stars thereof dark. Meaning when I get up with you with judgment, I'm going to wipe everything from before you. I'm going to take the stars from you. Or I'm going to take the sun from you. I'm going to take light from you. I'm going to take anything and everything from you when I put you out. When I turn my back on you with judgment. I will cover the sun with a cloud, meaning light and direction, right? As well as understanding. And the moon shall not give her light. Because what does the moon do? It gives her light in the darkness. That's how we navigate in the night. All the bright lights of heaven will I make dark over thee and set darkness upon thy land, saith the Lord God. So when the Lord says, you know what, the sun and the moon shall be darkened, that's all talking about in those days. That light in Babylon, prosperity and hope is going to be taken away, as well as wisdom of this world. And the stars shall withdraw their shining. The Lord also shall roar out of Zion. So right when it gets dark, not physically, but spiritually, the Lord comes back. That's the same thing that happened in ancient Egypt. What was the last plague before the Lord came back? Let's go to the book of Exodus, chapter 10 and verse 21. Wasn't it darkness, the plague of darkness, even darkness that may be felt before the Lord came back? This is the book of Exodus, chapter 10 and verse 21. And the Lord said unto Moses, stretch out thy hand toward heaven, that it may be darkness over the land of Egypt, even darkness which may be felt. And the Lord said, look, man, before he came back and Yahweh came as a fierce man of war and leaped off to that royal throne, like you read about in Wisdom of Solomon, right, 18 and 15 all the way down. It was dark over the land. But this was a physical account. It's going to happen all over again spiritually. You know, the Lord deals with repetition a lot. You know, I mean, when you really get into the scriptures, you see things and say, well, damn, that's happened before. You know, with that same spirit that's on him, and this ancient prophet, he had that. He moved in the same spirit as him, or this prophecy kind of link up with this prophecy. And you may humbly look at yourself and say, you know what, XYZ. It's the book of Ecclesiastes, right? Chapter 1 and verse number 9. The thing that hath been, it is that which shall be. And that which is done is that which shall be done. And there is no new thing under the sun. It's going to be that same Egypt, that same Tyre, Zidon, ancient Greek, those same customs, religion, vanity, that same witchcraft, the same days of no, the same plague of darkness. These things are going to repetitively happen until the day of the Lord. It's going to be another second. It's going to be a second wilderness, right? This is the book of Exodus, chapter 10, right? And let me just jump down. Right after the plague of darkness, let's go to the book of Exodus, chapter 11, in verse number 1. Right, I'm going to start at 4. And Moses said, thus saith the Lord, about midnight I will go out into the midst of Egypt. Man, check that out. And all of the firstborn in the land of Egypt shall die. So right in darkness had what happened after? Judgment. Judgment took place when that sun went down spiritually, man. Right? But that's physical. This is the book of Joel, right? Chapter 3 and verse 16 again. It says, and the Lord also shall roar out of Zion. What is it talking about? The Lord is going to roar out of Zion. Right after these things happen, immediately the Lord is going to roar. The same way he did in ancient Egypt in the plague of darkness. He roared and hopped off that throne. The same way when that sun gets dark, right, that sky is going to crack in the midst of World War III in the battle of Armageddon. And the Lord is going to come. And these nations are going to thirst, stop, and fight the Lord in the air. Right? Let me get the book of Isaiah, chapter 42 and 13. And as you read Isaiah, Ezekiel, Jeremiah, and other books, you want to link them up. Okay, this sounds like World War III, but it's parts of World War III. It's the beginning, it's the end, it's the midst. You know, it's after America's destroyed. It's the book of Isaiah, chapter 42, and verse number 13. The Lord shall go forth as a mighty man. He shall stir up jealousy like a man of war. He shall cry, yea, roar. He shall prevail against his enemies. I have long time holding my peace. Now, I've long time witnessed atrocities and murder and evilness till it comes to a peak, right? And the facts overflow. I have been still and refrained myself. Now will I cry like a travailing woman. I will destroy and devour at once. That destroying and devouring is leaping off that throne. When you go to the mighty book of 2nd Esdras, chapter 12, and I believe 38, let me go to it. I'm on 11 and 38. It's the book of 2nd Esdras, chapter 11, and I'm going to start at 38. And it says, hear thou, I will talk with thee, and the highest shall say unto thee, art not thou it that remainest of the four beasts, whom made in the range of the world, and the ends of their times might come through them? Right? Salakia. Let me get this quick precept. I'm going to start at 36. Then I heard a voice which said unto me, look before thee and consider the things that thou sawest. And I beheld, and lo, as it were a roaring lion chased out of the wood. And I saw that he sent out a man's voice unto the eagle and said, right? So it's saying all of the same thing, right? That lion chased out of the wood is talking about Yahweh, right? It says in verse 16, Joel 3 and 16, the Lord also shall roar out of Zion and utter his voice from Jerusalem, and the heavens and the earth shall shake, but the Lord will be the hope of his people, right? Meaning in the midst of destruction when it's going on, that's going to be our salvation and the strength of the children of Israel. So shall ye know that I am the Lord your God, dwelling in Zion, my holy mountain. Then shall Jerusalem be holy, and there shall no stranger pass through her anymore. You know, when the Lord deliver us, there's going to be no more foul, evil spirits pass through, and or any aliens and strangers dwelling in our land. This is Zechariah, right, chapter 13 and verse Right, number 3. Right, I'm going to start at 2. And it shall come to pass in that day, saith the Lord of hosts, that I will cut off the names of idols out of the land. Right, this is in the day of the second wilderness, when the Lord is having us to pass through the bond of the covenant. And they shall no more be remembered. And also I will cause the prophets and the unclean spirit to pass out of the land. So you're going to have a spiritual cleansing of the land, and then you're going to have a physical cleansing of the land of all of those enemies and nations taken out of that land and forcefully taken out of that land, man. You're not going to be able to just dwell there and chill there. Right? Let me get the book of Ezekiel, chapter 36. Let's prove that. It's the book of Ezekiel, right? Chapter 36. And I'm going to start at 33. Thus saith the Lord God, in that day that I shall have cleansed you from all your iniquities, meaning when he redeems us, I will also cause you to dwell in the cities, and the waste shall be builded. So when the Lord cleanses us, he's going to have us to dwell in those cities after he take out those unclean, evil spirits and nations. And the desolate land shall be tilled, whereas it lay desolate in the sight of all that passed by. So when the Lord take out these Amalekites, or these so-called Israelis, these false, fake Jewish, right, the Lord's going to take them out of the land. And they shall say, this land was desolate. It has become like the Garden of Eden, meaning fruitful, beautiful. It's going to be like the Garden of En-Gedi, man, right, the Garden of Eden. A garden that's going to prosper like in the days of old. And the waste and the desolate and ruined cities are become fenced and are inhabited. Meaning we're going to have walls, we're going to have gates, and the Lord is going to build those things up. And it says by all of those that pass by. I mean, you could pass by Jerusalem right now and look at it, man. How does Jerusalem look? Like it need water, man. It look like it need water. Looks very dry and unhealthy. Barely any grass. It really looks like a wilderness. When David was in the land, it didn't look like this. When Solomon was in the land, it didn't look like this. But this looks horrible. But we're not going to let these different nations and their owls outdo us in our homeland. So all of these things are going to flourish all over again, like in the ancient world, in the times before us, when the rightful people are in the land. And two, when you look at it spiritually, Jerusalem is a woman, right? That's the classic, right? Let me get that real fast. Galatians chapter 4, verse 26. And what does a fruitful, beautiful, youthful, nurturing woman do? They yield that increase in the land. And all that's sown in it is going to bring forth fruit. I mean, that's even in the law, that the Lord will bless thy land. This is the book of Galatians chapter 4, verse 26. But Jerusalem, which is above, is free, which is the mother of us all. And the mother is going to nourish you, give you milk, rock you, protect you, guide you, strengthen you. And when we're in that land rightfully, and the rightful people, chosen people are there, that land is going to yield forth its fruit. Right? This is the book, right, of Joel chapter 3 and verse number 17. And it says this. I'm going to start at 18. And it shall come to pass in that day that the mountains shall drop down new wine, and the hills shall flow with milk, and the rivers of Judah shall flow with waters, and the fountains shall come forth of the house of the Lord, and shall waters the valleys of Shittim. Now that's literal, but it's most definitely spiritual. It's more spiritual than anything. I mean, we know that the land is going to continue to, be there, but it's going to yield forth, flowing, you know, crops, berries, and things like that. The land is going to grow. It's going to be grass. We understand that on a physical, carnal level, but on a spiritual level, the Lord said, and it shall come to pass that the mountains shall drop down new wine. The mountain is the peak. A mountain is a nation. And at the top of the nation, right, if you got ears to hear, at the top, Yahweh Shem Yahushua is going to be at the top of the mountain. And at the top, it shall drop down new wine. The wine is the revelations and doctrine of the Lord. Now, when you read Joel, it's a very deep book. And when you read it, you got to read it in the spirit. Yeah, it physically happened. There was a physical famine. The things physically transpired, but it's more spiritual. Now, if the Lord said he's going to drop down new wine, it had to have been old wine there. The old wine was the vineyards and things that were famished during the time of Joel. Right, let me get this quick precept. Let's go into it. Now, in Joel, the 3rd chapter, it's spiritual. In Joel, the 1st chapter, it's physical and spiritual. It's the book of Joel, chapter 1, verse 5. Awake ye drunkards. I'm going to start at 4. That which the palmer worm had left. And it's the same spirit of Amos. Right? Amos, when you go into the 4th chapter, the famine. Right? You're going into the 8th chapter. Right? You're going into these different chapters. And it was talking about the 7th chapter, going into the famine. Right, and locust, the palmer worm, they're eating up all of the vintage. It says, have the locust eaten. And that which the locusts have left, the cankerworm have eaten. And that which the cankerworm have left, have the caterpillar eaten. Now, this is physical because there was a physical famine, but man being grass in these nations, and or man likened unto a worm. The Lord said their word doeth eat as a canker. In 2 Timothy, right, the 2nd chapter, in Hymenaeus and Philetus, that was saying a resurrection had passed already. The Lord likened those men unto cankerworms. And cankerworms, they eat all day long. Right, let me get that quick precept. So there's a spiritual famine. Let me get this real fast. This is verse 17. And their word will eat as do a canker, of whom is Hymenaeus and Philetus. So men are likened unto a cankerworm also. Bible says, awake ye drunkards and weep. And how are ye drinkers of wine? Because the new wine, for it is cut off from your mouth. Meaning what? The revelation of the prophets. That's what this is really going into. The Lord has cut off the prophets out of the land. And the Lord is saying, awake ye drunkards and weep, and howl ye drinkers of wine. Because the new wine, meaning new revelation, for it is cut off from your mouth. You're not going to be able to drink and receive the mysteries and knowledge and prophecy of the Lord. For a nation is come up upon my land, strong and without number, whose teeth are as the teeth of a lion, and he have the cheek, slacky teeth of a great lion. Check this out. He have laid my vine waste. The vine is Israel, in Isaiah 5 and 7. And barked my fig tree. The fig tree, right, is the elect. He hath made it clean bare, meaning stripped us naked, and casted it away. The branches thereof are made white, meaning bare, meaning all of the bark is taken away from it being stripped and bare, meaning made naked. It says, lament like a virgin girded with sackcloth for the husband of her youth. Check that out. Look at this. The meat offering and the drink offering is cut from the house of the Lord. The priests of the Lord, the ministers, mourn. So what is this talking about, man? What does it mean the meat offering and the drink offering is cut? Those are the chief offerings, man. The meat offering and the drink offering. It says it's cut from the house of the Lord. And there are no more sacrifices. There's no more standing before Yahweh Shem Yahushua and the priest right, to make reconciliation for your sins. Verse 10 is the point. The field is waste, the land mourneth, for the corn is waste, the new wine is dried up, the oil languished. The oil is wisdom. The wine is wisdom and knowledge. And what does it mean it's dried up? You know, the Lord took it away. So as you go into the first chapter, like I said, it's physical, but it's talking about spiritual. Then you go into the second chapter. The second chapter is the restoring of those things that were taken away. Yet the first chapter, it being stripped and bared. The second chapter, it being restored. And the third chapter, reiterating what the second chapter was going into. It's the second chapter, Joel chapter 2. And I'm going to start at 23. Be glad then, ye children of Zion, and rejoice in the Lord your God, for he hath given you the former rain. You have the former rain, then you have the latter rain. The former rain in the beginning was during the time of Adam, Noah, you understand, Abraham. And then you have the latter rain. The latter rain is what we're receiving right now by the prophets coming back on earth and the wisdom being expounded moderately. And he will cause it to come down for you, the rain, the former rain and the latter rain. Now, the former rain and the latter rain is spiritual. Why is the Lord saying in the last days, latter rain is coming? Because all of those things that were stripped from us are the new wine, all of those, the oil that got dried up, all the things that are vintage in the vineyard was dried up. And he's going to give you all that over again. You're going to have perfect understanding of Ezekiel, perfect understanding of Isaiah. You're going to know Yahweh in totality, not in part. Right now, we know the Lord in part now. The Lord is a mystery. You can read the Bible 1,000 times and never truly understand it word by word to perfection. Because if you was, right, you would be the Lord. It says this, and the floor shall be full of wheat, and the fat shall overflow with wine and oil. That's not just carnal, man. Just carnally just going to have all of the grapes grow in the world and all of the olive berries come from the trees. No, the wine and the oil is the wisdom, knowledge, and understanding from the Most High. That's going to peak and come forth by the latter rain, by the top of that mountain, which is Israel. And who's going to be teaching? You are. You're going to be teaching Most High women. The brothers watching this, man. The mighty, mighty men of Israel. They're going to govern a nation and get the whole earth in order. Check this out. And I will restore you the years that the locust eaten, the cankerworm and the caterpillar and the palmer worm, and my great army, which I sent among you. Right, check that out, man. Right, so I'm going to get one more. And ye shall know that I am in the midst of Israel. Salakia 126. And ye shall eat in plenty and be satisfied, and praise the name of the Lord your God that have dealt wondrously with you, and my people shall never be ashamed. Let's go back to Joel. This is Joel chapter 3, and I'm going to start at verse 18 again. And it shall come to pass in that day that the mountains shall drop down, right, new wine, and the hills shall flow with milk. Now the mountains, like I said, are the nations, and the hills are the lower nation, the lesser nations. Meaning they're going to drop down because of all the men dispersed over all of those countries. So in this place, that place, this place, that place, you're going to have men over 10 cities that are going to have that govern, that's going to drop down the knowledge, not only, you understand, to the mountains, but also to the hills, because we're not going to teach one another in the kingdom. Or nobody's going to be watching anybody's live, man. Because whatever you know, the Lord, most high willing, if I make it, is going to bless me with. It says, and all the rivers of Judah shall flow with waters, and the fountain shall come forth of the house of the Lord, and shall water the valley of Shittim. Right, so it's going to have a fountain that's going to come forth of the house of the Lord, and shall water the valley of Shittim. So the Lord's going to water, right, abundantly all the places, right, where we have been scattered. Right, you can read about that in Ezekiel chapter 47. Reading on. It says, Egypt shall be a desolation, and Edom shall be a desolate wilderness for the violence against the children of Judah, because they have sinned and shed innocent blood in their land. And then they're going to have a perpetual punishment. Why these other nations are going to be able to be in their lands, not that they're going to be in the kingdom like us in the highest state, but they're going to still be able to dwell in their lands. We're going to be over them in servitude and bondage, but they're still going to be able to have a house, right? They're going to have a living circumstance and living situation. You know, we're going to check on them, right? We're still going to be over them, right? Just like Jake now, man. You're going to have certain heathens, right? You may dwell with and live with. It may be in the back, whatever the case may be. You may have certain people that are dispersed throughout, you know, Asia, whatever the case may be, in different parts that you're going to have to govern and be over, right? Let me read that again. It says, for the violence against the children of Judah, because they have shed innocent blood in their land. Right, let me get this classic precept. It's the book of Isaiah. So bear with me. Chapter 13, verse 19. In Babylon, the glory of kingdoms, the beauty of the Chaldees' excellency, shall be as when God overthrew Sodom and Gomorrah, right, in the neighboring cities round about it, and rained down fire, right, and brimstone. It shall never be inhabited. So as you read about in Revelations, the 14th chapter, right, verse, let me get that real fast. It's never going to dwell in from captivity, right? No more captivities, no more deceiving and sorcery. And brothers and sisters are finally going to dwell in peace on the earth. It's verse 11. And the smoke of her torment ascended up forever and ever. That's hip talk, right? And they have no rest, day nor night, who worship the beast and his image, and whosoever receiveth the mark of his name. So the Lord said, look, man, the smoke of their torment shall ascend forever and ever. Now you know it's perpetually going to be destroyed, perpetually going to be a wilderness. Now we know that this is not literal because it's prophesied in Isaiah that certain creatures would dwell in the wilderness of Babylon. Now I don't know any owls that are going to be burning forever, and any doleful creatures that are going to be burning forever. All creatures have to eat. All creatures need dens and caves. And all creatures are not going to be burned with fire, man, and be able to sustain those type of things. So we know through the spirit and discernment that this is not literal. Going back to 21 in Isaiah 13 and 21, but wild beasts of the desert shall lie there, and their houses shall be full of doleful creatures, and the owl shall dwell there, and straight shall dance there. Check that out. And the wild beasts of the owl shall cry in their desolate houses, and dragons in the pleasant places, and her time is near to come, and her days shall not be prolonged. And the Lord has that on a very, very strict time. It says, but Judah shall dwell forever in Jerusalem from generation to generation. We're never going to get rooted out of our land anymore, man. Like I always use the Salaki bear with me. I always use the metaphor that, you know, when you're young, when you go to Six Flags or you have a nice time out, or, you know, you may take off PTO for work or whatever the case may be, right? You may have a nice time out with you and your old lady, you and your wife. But then you got work in the morning. Or you got work next week. Right? It's not going to be no on and off switch in the kingdom, man. You're going to laugh forever. You're going to joy forever. You're not going to feel pain. And I love talking about this. It gives you something to hope in and aspire to obtain. And I don't want to just talk about one side of the gospel all of the time, man, and not talk about the other side of the gospel. You have to do everything in part and in a balance. And we got to talk more about the salvation that the Most High has and the love that the Most High has for his people. The promises and things which have not entered into man's mind that we're going to be able to enjoy if we make it, Most High willing. Right? It says this, for I will cleanse their blood that I have not cleansed, for the Lord dwelleth in Zion. The Lord dwelleth in Zion. Yahweh Bashim Yahushua is going to dwell there. Right? When you read Ezekiel 43, right, the Lord said that's the place where he's going to set his throne for 7 all the way down, right, from generation to generation. So there's going to be no more, right, seeing the Lord afar off in our dreams and visions, and or seeing him through the words of God. We're going to physically be able to cast our eyes on him and dwell in safety. Like it says in the book, right, of Revelation, right, chapter 21, he's going to be the temple. There was no need for the temple, for the Lamb is the temple thereof, paraphrasing greatly. But then we're going to walk in the light and laws of Yahweh Shem Yahushua. And he's going to be our temple, our high priest, our Lamb. He's going to be everything that we once had, but perfected in the kingdom. Right, let me get this last precept before I close out. Matter of fact, I'm going to get 2 more and close out. It's the book of Zechariah. So if I can prove me. Zephaniah chapter 3, verse number 14. Sing, O daughter of Zion. Shout, O Israel. Be glad and rejoice with all the heart, O daughter of Israel. The Lord hath taken away thy judgments and hath casted thine enemy. The Lord, it's like the King of Israel, even the Lord is in the midst of thee. Thou shalt not see evil anymore. The Lord's going to take away all of the curses, all of the evil, and all of the plagues. And then that day it shall be said to Jerusalem, fear thou not, and to Zion, let not thy hands, right, be slack. The Lord thy God in the midst of thee is mighty, and he will save. He will rejoice over thee with joy. He will rest in his love. He will joy over thee with singing. I will gather them that are sorrowful, and Salakia for the solemn assembly, who are of thee, whom the reproach of it was burdened. Behold, at that time, I will undo all that afflict thee, and I will save her that halteth, and gather her that was driven out, and I will get them praise and fame in every land, whether they have been put to shame. At that time, I will bring you again, even in the time that I gather you. For I will make you a name and a praise among all people of the earth, when I turn back your captivity before your eyes, saith the Lord Yahweh Bashim Yahushua. And we're waiting on that day. Right? Don't fall out the truth by lack of being impatient and not truly believing in these promises that the Most High gave us. Like it tells you in 2 Peter, the 3rd chapter, a lot of men were saying, well, where's the promise of his salvation? For since thy fathers fell asleep, all things continue as they were. For this they are willingly ignorant. Right? Paraphrasing greatly. Right? This is the book of Revelation, chapter 2. So I can bear with me. Chapter 3 and verse 2. Be watchful and strengthen the things which remain that are ready to die, who have not found thy works perfect before God. Remember therefore how thou hast received and heard, and hold fast and repent. If therefore thou shalt not watch, I will come to thee as a thief, and thou shalt not know what hour I will come upon thee. So continue to watch, be diligent, continuously stay in prophecy, the revelations of the Lord, and watch until the end. With that, Lord willing, this was edifying. I'm going to give all honor and glory to the Most High God, Yahweh. By Hashem Mashiach Wamalak Yahushua. Shalom.